how many of these players have truly benefited from their longevity? It's only LeBron James and Kareem. Think about it. Vince Carter is only one of 22 players to rack up over 20.
All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. Hope you all are having a good day so far. So I got asked to react to this. That was a couple of weeks ago, honestly, but I'm finally getting to it here. This is a video from the Basketball Universe channel, and this one is titled The NBA GOAT Dilemma, Peak versus Longevity. So I guess let's get into it, because that's really what I guess this whole conversation has become at this point. There are those of us who define greatness as how much have you accomplished, how did you do it, and in how much time. And well, that's why Michael Jordan is, you know, it's a no-brainer for me. Who's my GOAT? As far as somebody who came in, basically played about 15 seasons if you add it all up together, and won 6 championships, 5 MVPs, 6 Finals MVPs, 10 scoring titles, and the list goes on and on and on. Defensive Player of the Year, all of his first team, all NBA teams, all that crap that he pulled off in 15 years. Another guy that goes high on my list because of this is Magic Johnson. 5 championships and all the MVPs and accolades that came along with it in such a short career that he had, shortened because of the HIV virus. Things like this speak to me a lot more. Now, there's the other camp that is the LeBron James camp, which is like, well, he's played 21 years or whatever the case is. I lost track whether it's 21 or 22 at this point. And to me, that would be a great argument if he had accomplished more in that time. So now we're dealing with a situation where this guy has played way longer than either of those guys that I just listed. Yet those guys that I listed accomplished way more than him. So accomplished more, less time, that's better production for me. So anyways, let's see what Basketball Universe has to say about it. My stance is if the longevity doesn't come with the success, then longevity is just kind of overrated, because we've had a lot of players who have played a long time, and if it doesn't lead to winning, then what's the point? But that's my view. So let's see what Basketball Universe has to say about it. As I always do, I'm linking the original video down below in the description for you. So if you want to check out his channel, it's right there. And that was a long-winded enough intro. Sorry about that, you guys. I just wanted to get my take in so you guys don't think I'm siding with anybody. Like, that's how I feel. Let's see how this guy feels.
Do you value Michael Jordan's peak or LeBron's longevity more? This is the basis of every GOAT argument we've encountered in the past few years. That is a question that everyone has to answer for themselves. But are we being consistent across the board when discussing these two aspects? Or are we only applying it to Jordan and LeBron? Are we being honest on what this question implies? What we're looking for is consistency. If there's one thing that bothers me the most when I view anyone's top players list is when they contradict their own criteria. It makes no sense, for example, to put Larry Bird over Tim Duncan because you value his peak more when you have LeBron over Jordan. With that in mind, let's take a look at the top 10 players with the most career regular season games. Except for Kevin Willis and Jason Terry, everyone in the top 8 is considered a top 75 player. That's right, I'm unofficially including Vince Carter on that list.
I just wanted to check something. All right, so for point guards, it is John Stockton has played the most games. Okay. Even though he might be one of the most talented, if not the most talented pure point guard we've ever seen, I don't know many people who have John Stockton as their greatest point guard of all time. However, he's got the longevity. No, we talk about Magic Johnson, and now recently we talk about Steph Curry. So, yeah, playing more games than your competition does not equate to greatness without winning.
That's right. I'm unofficially including Vince Carter on that list. What you're looking at here is the players with the most longevity. Because they were so durable, they were able to compile many notable achievements. But let's be honest, how many of these players have truly benefited from their longevity, it's only LeBron James and Kareem. Think about it. Vince Carter is only one of 22 players to rack up over 25,000 career points. That was only thanks to his longevity. But that wasn't enough for him to be selected as one of the NBA's greatest 75 players. What message was the league sending?
Oh, wow. I actually didn't think about that he wasn't one of the top 75. Damn. I don't know how I feel about that yet.
A player's peak was going to be more valuable than a player's longevity. But that's not the only example. Let's look at Robert Parrish, the all-time leader in career games played. Here's my question to you. Would you have him ranked over Kevin McHale? I'm willing to bet that you wouldn't. I have yet to find a list where he ranks over McHale. But if longevity is truly more valuable, there is no reason to have Parrish ranked below.
Or he's a center, right? So let's compare him against Kareem or Shaq, who have both won more than him. So that is kind of like the Jordan and LeBron debate, because Parrish played more but won less. So do we have him as the greatest center of all time? I like this video. I see the angle he's going. Yeah, why are we doing this with LeBron and Jordan if we're not going to do this with everybody else who had a long career and won less than their opposition? Cool. I get why you wanted me to react to this now, man. Thank you.
As we can see in this next graphic, he has simply accomplished more. His career total numbers are much greater. His longevity
Parrish had 4. My bad.
Has allowed him to obtain more accolades, such as all-star appearances. But why are so many basketball fans ranking McHale over Parrish? Why are so many of us dismissing this discrepancy in their total numbers? Because Kevin's peak and skill level were higher than Robert's.
Absolutely.
At their best, there is no question that one player was superior to the other. All the Celtics fans who witnessed this amazing team from the 80s can attest to that. Again, we are valuing peak over longevity. Let's use another example that shocks me to the core.
Boogie.
This time, we're using players that are unquestionably in the top 30. Kevin Garnett and Dirk Nowitzki. Their peak was very high. They have so many All-Star and All-NBA selections among them.
This one's tough because they both ended up with 1 ring.
They both won MVPs and championships. Despite having the whole package, NBA experts on TV were throwing that all away for players that were nowhere near close to accomplishing what they have. Let's take, for example, this guy, Nick Wright.
Weasel.
He has made a living by being the first and loudest sports personality for claiming that LeBron is greater than Michael Jordan. When he counted down the 50 greatest players of the last 50 years in 2022, he even put Kareem over Jordan. He is clearly saying a player's longevity should be valued more than what you accomplish when you are at your very best. But how can you explain putting Giannis over Dirk Nowitzki and Luka over Kevin Garnett if that's the case? At the end of the 2021/22 season, which is when he released this list, here's how their numbers look side by side.
Okay, so he was fresh off of Giannis winning that championship, huh?
It's laughable how off Giannis and Luka were to their total career numbers, all-star appearances, and all-NBA selections to Garnett and Nowitzki.
Yeah, I see his point. That's completely contradiction. That's a complete contradiction to his previous criteria, which is longevity matters. Giannis could end his career right now and get nowhere near Dirk Nowitzki's numbers.
Despite this huge, immense discrepancy, he is saying that he values more one player's peak over another's longevity. In fact, both Giannis and Luka had zero longevity whenever the list was put out. So what's the reason for putting Kareem over Jordan if you're making such a bold statement for placing a player that accomplished absolutely nothing noteworthy in the top 20?
Yep.
He was obviously in love with that player's offensive talent, the incredibly high numbers that he could produce, the raw skill level that he has. He is saying that the totality of your career and all the individual accolades can only get you so far. If you aren't the better talent, the better player, then you don't deserve to be ranked higher. If only he was consistent throughout this whole list.
Yeah.
But he's not the only one to believe this deep inside their core. Many sports experts and former NBA players were doing the same to Michael Jordan after he won his 3rd title. Keep in mind that what we're about to consider came before he announced his retirement. People weren't considering that and weren't speaking out of emotion. They were making these following claims after they witnessed the most impressive finals performance in NBA history. After being the first player,
Of course, against my Suns. Of course, it was yeah.
to lead a
And
team
then one of the other greatest finals performances was Giannis against my Suns, and yeah.
to 3 straight titles since Bill Russell and averaging over 40 points per game for the series, there was a question that everyone was asking. Let's go back 32 years ago and see exactly what the discussion was.
Okay,
Jack McCallum of Sports Illustrated wrote this.
I had that Sports
quote,
Illustrated.
Is Michael Jeffrey Jordan simply the best basketball player in the history of the planet? The answer to that question, yes. A resounding yes.
Best. That's the difference between best and greatest. Best, it's so easy. It's so easy. Best running back of all time, Barry Sanders, hands down. You know, best basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan, hands down. Greatness is a whole different thing. Michael Jordan was the best basketball player of all time by 1989, in my opinion. We never seen anything like this before, never seen anything since, but greatness comes with the accomplishments, and the major accomplishment is winning it all. So he didn't become the greatest of all time until he started stacking those rings.
End of quote. If you are of a certain age, you probably don't know who this legendary sports writer is or care about his opinion. But you probably know these Hall of Famers, Willis Reed and Bob Cousy. We're talking about 2 people who have seen, played against, and even played with the very best. Here's what Willis Reed said in that article, quote, "There's no question in my mind that Jordan is the best. Bill Russell won all those championships, so you can't take anything away from him. But if you take all the aspects of the game, you have to say Michael is the best. The guy wins scoring titles, and he's one of the best defensive players of all time. That says it all."
Yep.
End of quote.
Best on, I always say it too. Best on both ends of the court. Okay, you're obviously the best out there.
Now let's add what Bob Cousy said. Quote, "His talent is that far above everyone else's. Russell was the most productive center I've ever seen, and he complemented the talent we had. But you can say that he wasn't as good of a shooter as some other people. Jordan doesn't have any area like that." End of quote. Former players and sports analysts alike were calling him the greatest ever. By 1993, his career total stats couldn't compare to other greats who played much longer. But it didn't matter to any of them. His talent level and achievements were already enough to call him the GOAT. What's interesting is that Kareem's name wasn't mentioned at all with the players that were quoted in that article. The GOAT conversation seemed to be between Jordan and Russell. Why is that? Because Kareem was doing all his winning when he passed a certain age and when he was playing with a certain player. He was putting up amazing numbers and winning all these MVPs in the 70s, but he would then have underwhelming results in the playoffs. It's not that people weren't admiring what Kareem was doing throughout all those years. It was extremely impressive. But without realizing it, they were saying that it was more impressive when you accomplish certain things while you're at your best. That's the only reason to explain why everyone at the time was comparing Jordan to Russell instead of Kareem. For the record, I don't agree that Bill Russell should be ranked higher. I believe Kareem's peak was greater than Russell's, but apparently many sports analysts at the time didn't believe so. But we're not here to rehash a 30-year-old debate. We're here to discuss Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. Again, we're only discussing their peak, what they did at their absolute best. Don't bring in career numbers here. Take that out the window. Take Michael Jordan's best and LeBron James' best. Who was better? We have a graphic to help us answer that question.
All right, here we go.
Here's the top 5 highest numbers, reviewing both of their careers for various categories. We'll start with all the categories that Michael has the advantage over LeBron. We can see he has 8 categories where he finished first or has more appearances. In many instances, LeBron only shows up a few times or none at all. Now here are the categories where LeBron has the advantage. It's only 2, assists and rebounds. The numbers say that Michael was a much better scorer and the more valuable defender. Speaking of value, the advanced numbers say that Michael was the most responsible for all their team success. Despite LeBron playing with much more all-star teammates throughout his career, Jordan was able to lead his team to 5 60-win seasons. LeBron has only done it 3 times.
Agreed. As far as a one-man impact on a team, easily Michael Jordan. LeBron got to surround himself with stars to carry the load.
Only a partial statistical case for him. We're not taking into consideration all the playoff numbers for this discussion. That can get a little tricky, since there are some postseasons where the amount of games you play can impact the per-game numbers. If we're talking playoff performances, we can rattle off so many historic games and moments that Michael Jordan accomplished at his peak, such as averaging over 40 points per game in the 1993 finals.
Let's keep talking about
or
that,
leading his team to a dominant 15-3 postseason record in 1991. But we don't have to go that deep. It all boils down to
I just realized 15 and 3 record in 1991. If that includes the finals, then that means they lost two. Oh, they only lost 1 game in the finals. Yeah, they steamrolled that season.
This. What Michael accomplished in a short period is more than what LeBron has done while playing basketball for over 2 decades. We're talking about Jordan winning 2 more titles, 2 more finals MVPs, 1 more regular season MVP, and 9 more scoring titles.
Yeah, think about it. In 8 seasons, Jordan accomplished more than LeBron has in all 22 of his seasons. Just let that sink in, because it's not an exaggeration.
He still has the lead on that, while playing in less than 5,000 career games, including the playoffs. With all that information, we can draw the logical conclusion that Michael Jordan was a superior player at his peak. For him to accomplish all that he did in such a short period means that his talent and skill were at an extremely high level. Kind of like what some people think of Luka on offense, but just add the intensity that Jordan played on defense. If you still think LeBron should be the greatest of all time because of what he's done for the past 20 seasons, then that's your prerogative. But if you're saying that you'll take longevity over peak, you're basically saying that you recognize that one player was better than the other at their best. And we can certainly agree on that when it comes to Michael Jordan and LeBron James. But what about you all? What do you value more on your all-time greatest players list? Do you think someone's longevity should mean more than what they did at their peak? Do you also think there are inconsistencies when how we view a certain player's longevity? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.
Well, that's that video. It was really good. My final thoughts is, I value the peak more, as long as the peak leads to winning. So, in other words, like a guy like James Harden, you're off my list. As much as I love Trace McGrady, you're off my list. You know, stuff like that just, when it doesn't lead to championships and it doesn't lead to winning, then I can say you're one of the best or one of my favorite, but I can't say you're one of the greatest anymore. And that's just the way it works. So Michael Jordan in 8 years winning 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, and all the scoring titles, and all all the accolades that came in those 8 years, versus a LeBron James playing 22 years and still only having 4 championships, even though, and don't get started on all the ring chasing and shit. Like, we'll just leave it at that. 22 years, 4, or 15 years and 6. I'm going Michael Jordan, especially when we can say Jordan did all that in 8 years, while LeBron is on year 22 and still trying to catch up to it, but he's only 66% there, because he's got 4 rings, he doesn't have 6 rings. To me, this is not even an argument. The longevity thing is cool. I gotta admit, it's cool to be able to last this long in a professional sport. However, if it doesn't lead to winning, then it's just fun. You know, it doesn't add value to the argument of he's the greatest of all time because of this longevity. Now, if he had 8 championships right now, you know, under his belt, and he was just like continuing his career and just hooping at a high level, man, we'd have a really different conversation, in my opinion. At least I would have a very different view, because I'd be like, well, in some ways he kind of already surpassed all the greatest, and now he's just continuing his career. That's pretty cool. But unfortunately, that's simply not the case. he is still trying to catch up to many, many greats who have accomplished way more than him in way less time. So I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know what your guys' take is on this. Is it longevity? Is it what you did in your prime? And when you consider primes and longevity, do you factor in what accomplishments were there? And do you value an MVP more than a championship? I'm curious about these things. I'm curious on what your views are, because I've made my views very clear. So you can critique how I view greatness all you like. I'm not worried about it. I'm pretty solid and confident in my view in this. But I am very curious on what you guys think, and if we all kind of think the same, or if we're coming at this from different angles. But anyways, everyone, thank you for watching. Please like the video if you haven't done so yet. It helps out a ton. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And as always, be water, my friends.